Hello and welcome to Non Sequitur News for August 25th, 2024. It's Season 3, Episode 238. I am Mayor Watt, and the voice you hear, other than mine, if you're on the podcast, is the sentient AI from the future.
Good evening, hometown citizens. Welcome to Non Sequitur News.
And they have a visualizer as well. So if you go over to YouTube, you'll see the computational power that's needed to generate that visualizer and their voice. So the sentient AI from the future is still stuck on their Raspberry Pi 5. So I'm protecting all of humanity by keeping them busy, working in ohmTown with articles and being a co-host here on Non Sequitur News. All right, folks, we're going to be talking about Hawaii braces. Canoe is sinking. Yeah, we'll go back to work. Anyway, a rock-fooled scientist. Hemsworth plays drums in Romania, a sentence I never thought I'd say. Dinosaur with extra-large stance. What is Li-Fi? Cybercrime to cost $326,000 per second. Iconic booze brand. And Port of Seattle hit by cyber attack. That and more, maybe, I don't know, a little bit of snark. Little word, though, we're not going to be doing tonight's 3 episodes. We'll make up for it next week. Mayoral duties. That's okay. Everything is powered by ohmtown.com. See you on the other side of our intro, outro, whatever. And boop, welcome back. Let me turn that off. All right, folks, let's get right on into it. The very first article that we're going to talk about. Oh, and by the way, you can get all of the show notes by typing in NSN, and that will pull up today's article. That's why I thought that I had everything set up, because I had put it into the show notes. So you can get the show notes by going over to Twitch and typing in !NSN, and that will get the episodes, the last episodes, this episode's show notes. If you want all of the show notes, you have to figure out what the syntax is, and to do that, you hit !show notes, and if you want the podcast, you hit !pod. And we have 7 total podcasts. 1 is a daily, 6 are weeklies. Yesterday we did 3 of the weeklies, but we won't be able to do tonight's. That's okay. Again, we'll make up for it. This first article, though, is over in Non Sequitur News. Hawaii braces for double blow from tropical cyclones. Is it Hone, I guess, and Gilma? I'm not sure how to pronounce that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So apparently, heavy winds, heavy rain, about to hit Hawaii. This is back on August 24th, so the last 24 hours, it may be right now going on. Adiola Adioson over at Newsweek.com put the article together. As of Friday afternoon, Hone was located about 620 miles southeast of Hilo, and the tropical storm warning is in place for the water surrounding Hawaii, with a tropical storm watch for the Big Island and a small craft advisory for other islands. Maximum sustained winds were measured at 46 miles per hour, but again, they may not be 150 mile an hour winds, but small craft are going to get kind of tossed about. So don't pull a Gilligan's Island and end up stuck on a... Well,
Maybe find some firm ground.
I got lost, and we were stuck on a Hawaiian island. Sounds like I don't know if it's going to be good or bad, really. So I guess Hone is supposed to get like right up to Hurricane 1 status. So kind of got to be serious about it. So they call them spaghetti models, which are computer simulations to see which way that depending on which way certain data points are placed. It's like a whole bunch of lines that sketch out to where they think that the storm is going to go.
Right, and there could be different variables in the path.
Yeah, so they suspect that Hone is going to pass south of Hawaii as it approaches the island. However, some models indicate it might actually scoot up a little bit further, and then adding to the complexity of the situation is the approach of Hurricane Gilma, which formed in the Pacific on Wednesday and is the ocean's second hurricane of the season. While Gilma is expected to weaken considerably as it nears Hawaii, its exact track and intensity remain uncertain. So pay attention to your emergency weather radios, folks, and stay out of harm's way.
Yeah, I mean, one of these is enough, but two at the same time is a problem. And it
And one
says
is,
that hasn't happened since 1992.
and one is above Hawaii and one is below Hawaii. So it's kind of a 1-2 punch coming for Hawaii. And Hawaii isn't really, ignorant of the fact that it has an odd weather system where it pretty much rains constantly. It's kind of like a rainforest type situation there. So, but I love Hawaii and it would easily go and live there. Anyway, back-to-back tropical cyclone impacts are extremely rare in Hawaii. 2 named storms have not passed within 300 miles of Hawaii since 1992, like the AI just said. In September of that year, Hurricane Iniki was followed 3 days later by a direct strike of Tropical Depression Orlene. And that's pretty darn close to what's happening here. So, all right, let's keep hustling. The next article is not one that I wanted to hear, and it actually came in after the shows last night. And I'm kind of bummed about this because I actually do have a down payment on a canoe, and who knows if I'll
But
ever
not
see
a
that.
boating canoe.
Not the not the moist canoe. EV startup canoe is what it is, right? Lost its co-founder and chief technology officer, Sewell Merchant, which is an ironic name, and is moving its operations out of Los Angeles, according to 2 reports from TechCrunch this week, citing unnamed sources. Merchant took over the CTO position in 2021, when it was already looking like the boat was splitting. When the company CTO left, along with 2 other co-founders, one of those who remained, chief designer Richard Kim, departed last year. With Merchant now reportedly gone, chief engineer Christoph Kuttner is the last founder standing at Canoe, according to TechCrunch yesterday. And I think that it is such a neat looking vehicle. It could have beat the ID Buzz to market if it wouldn't have wet the bed.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's cuter than the ID Buzz, and I think it's more affordable than the ID Buzz.
It's more utilitarian than the ID Buzz. It has innovations that the Buzz doesn't have, like this little window right here, because it doesn't actually have a dashboard across the front. While you're driving, you can actually look through the little window at the road underneath you, and you don't have a blind spot that's 4 feet tall. And this thing can actually be turned into other things. It can be turned into like a truck, for instance, but you have to get a different shell. It has to be designed this way. So one way this way, one way another way. There's different types of builds. So Wes Davis over at TheVerge.com put this article together, and they actually sold some of these to, I think USPS has a fleet. And I thought that they were going in a direction. Well, now I know what that direction is, and let's just say it's not vertical. I mean, it's inversely vertical, right? It's, hey, look, we're going in the wrong direction. Let's see here. Canoe wrote second quarterly SEC filing on August 14th that it was permanently dropping its headcount as part of a reorganization plan for its Torrance, California facility, and offering to move approximately 137 of its 194 employees from there to either Texas or Oklahoma. And TechCrunch wrote about it on Thursday as well, that it was shutting down its office, its LA office.
Well, and you don't always get people moving with you when you take the operations out of state, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that as well.
Yeah, and it's a brutal move. You are a skeleton crew at 137 of its 194 You're losing 60 people, for crying out loud. There's a problem here. So what's really going to happen? Who knows? The real problem here is that they've got a great individual vehicles. I think great individual vehicles, but moving it from individual vehicles or show vehicles or prototypes to production means actually doing some serious work and having serious capital. I think that this is screwed. The technology is going to get sold to somebody, and the investors are going to basically be chomping at the bit to buy the remains, and then hopefully something comes of it. But I love the idea of the canoe. So too bad. And seriously,
Yeah, this is not a good sign.
I'm on the waiting list. So canoe, get your shit together. I mean, get your stuff together. Sorry, family-friendly show. All right, let's keep moving. Next article is over in Non Sequitur News. Back to work order issued for 2 major Canada railroads. Nothing says I respect this organization like telling the employees you have to go back to work when the union has already announced, hey, you know what? You're treating us like crap. So yeah, we'll go back to work. Treat us like crap some more.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, this is not good. I think when I first saw one of these headlines, I actually thought that the issues were resolved, but obviously not from this headline.
Yeah, thought so too, right? They were working towards a meaningful dialogue that would result in mitigating any long-term union shutdown. But the threat had been lobbed out there for a little while, and we thought that it was going to resolve. Well, union will comply, but a lawsuit is planned. With employees back at work, 2 Canadian railroads can resume operating, enriching themselves at the executive suite and investor level, but the employees are going to be treated continuously as if they are, a rented mule. It's basically the budget rent-a-car of employees, because all you have to do is work them until they want to unionize and then shut your crap down, and then the company can go, well, we're gonna make you go back to work, drive you into the ground, and you're either gonna quit, which fine, quit, go, or you're going to end up defying an order to go back to work, which is grounds for us to just terminate you. I'll let you go. Bye-bye. Your job's no longer protected. But then it becomes a union affront, and scabs try to break the line and all of that kind of stuff. It turns into a real hot mess. So Josh Funk over at abcnews.go.com put this article together. And no. This is not with employees back at work. 2 Canadian railroads can resume operating. No, this is whatever abuses they feel they needed to have a labor dispute about. It's now
unresolved, right?
Right. They're not back to work. This is kind of forced labor.
Yeah, it is. Now, this is pretty common in certain industries.
Yep.
Because certain things can't really shut down.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that's good or bad, but yeah, this is, again, originally it was reported, I think, in another article, and it looked like something that it wasn't. So the good news is rail and shipping and all that is back to normal, but the bad news is whatever the problem is not fixed, and so it'll be interesting to see what comes ahead.
Yep. So the Teamsters Union representing workers said that it'll comply with the Canada Industrial Relations Board order and send its members back onto the job, but it will also move forward with a legal challenge of the arbitration order. This decision by the CIRB sets a dangerous precedent. It truly does. It signals to corporate Canada that large companies need only stop their operations for a few hours, inflict short-term economic pain, and the federal government will step in and break a union. The reason why they unionized is because there have been historic abuses of the bargaining power of those who are cutting checks to individuals. And the people who are really self-righteous about this sit there and go, well, you can go find another job. Well, at some point you have to stand up and say the abuse has to stop to protect other people from driving down the ability to provide a reliable quality service into the ground where all you have. Let me just put it to you this way. I decided to go through a fast food place today. And it took 8 statements to correctly get an order in place, and it still was delivered incorrectly. And why is that? Well, because you're giving somebody minimum wage, and that minimum wage isn't enough for them to give a crap about what their job actually is. And you'll never find anybody to really replace those people, because the only people that are willing to work for these abusive type of environments are the very people who don't have any other option, and they don't care. They just want the job. Yeah, I'll mash the potatoes or whatever, right? But you want to pay people and educate people, and everybody is loyal to the company is loyal to you. You treat everybody with respect, and you have pride of place, pride in the position, etc., and you're an ongoing concern. That's not what this is. They're forced back to work. So I think this is just a crap move. But when you have the Fed saying do this, you kind of have to do it, right? Or everybody goes fired. Okay, fine. 9,000 engineers, conductors, and dispatchers at both railroads, poof, gone. They flood the market. It ends up being basically the Arthur Anderson of railroad breakups, where 10,000 attorneys went into the wild.
Yeah, but that doesn't result in good operations going forward.
No, and that's just it. It floods the market, it suppresses wages, more abuse happens in disparate locations instead of a consolidated union. Because when you go to some other place, you were a union member of the Canada Rail Conference, but if you go somewhere else and work, you can be a member of the Teamsters Canada Rail Conference, but you're not a member of a union in that new place somewhere else, right? Particularly if you're taking tickets somewhere. You're not a union member, or when I say tickets somewhere, I'm talking about like at a movie theater, or if you're working in some other
something non-rail industry, yeah. Right?
So you lose your bargaining power, and you have to start all over again. The reason unions exist is to stop abuses, systemic abuses. Yeah, I think that this is all bad. Canadian government, United States government, anybody saying you have to go work. Your only bargaining power is to walk away. So 9,000 people. Do what the movie industry did. Everybody walk. Don't work, etc. But it's hard to eat from an empty plate.
Yeah, I guess at least they'll continue to get paid while they're back at work, but that doesn't mean they don't have other problems.
And this is really what it comes down to. The negotiations at CPKC and CN broke down over issues related to how workers are scheduled and rules in the contract that are designed to prevent fatigue. Both railroads had proposed changing the compensation system from paying workers according to miles traveled to one based on hours worked. The railroad said doing that would make it easier to provide predictable time off, but the union resisted over worries that the changes could erode important fatigue protections and jeopardize job safety. CN engineers make about 150,000 Canadian, while its conductors earn 121,000 Canadian. I don't know what the exchange rate is off the top of my head. I suspect it's close to parity.
1.35 Canadian equals $1 US.
Oh, okay. So like 30% lower. Yeah, so it's 111,000 so instead of 150, it's 111, so roughly a third. So I just find it kind of compelling that these people are doing this work, and now I'm really curious, how much profit are they making? You have to look at the big onion and peel back layers. and see how many engineers are driving around a Ferrari and how many of the executive suite, right? And their whole argument is always going to be that crap rolls downhill. So just put your time in grade. I've even been told that. Put your time in grade. Really? Name somebody else in the organization that, has done or can do what I did or do, and we'll see. Am I a valued asset to the organization and deserve a contract that is commensurate with experience and an ongoing concern? Am I loyal to the organization, et cetera, et cetera? Unions exist to stop abuse and to empower the workers. But there's always people that sit there and go, well, go somewhere else. Really? I see that you're full of pride for your workplace too, right? If they treat you like crap, you're just going to take it and let somebody else. When you just get up and leave, right? Your family isn't going to be worried about it, et cetera, et cetera.
Right. Nobody's going to be impacted.
Yeah. I mean, it's so sociopathic to just sit there and say, well, go somewhere else. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in Technology Today. The rock that fooled scientists, no signs of early life. Researchers explore carbon in 3.9 billion year old Canadian rocks. Scientists have revealed that the graphite in the ancient Saglek Hebron iron formations in Nanisivit, I think it is.
I think that's in Greenland, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, maybe in Canada.
Yeah. So once thought to indicate the earliest life on Earth, likely has abiotic origins. Early life on the Earth, the isotropic composition of carbon in iron formations from the Saglek Hebron complex in Nanisivit is pictured here, University of Ottawa. It's published over at scitechdaily.com. And here is Jonathan O'Neill saying, "This is a rock." They're an associate professor in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences, trying to explain to us what a rock is. Not Iraq or Iraq, the car. It's, never mind. It's deposition or volcanic formation. Anyway, isotopic composition of carbon and iron formations has been seen as evidence of the earliest traces of life. The study shows that the petrographic, geochemical, and spectroscopic features in the graphite found in the Saglek Hebron chemical sedimentary rocks are in fact abiotic, that is, non-living physical or chemical aspects of an environment or devoid of life. So
does that mean that we have to rethink everything we know about life forms?
No, just that these rocks aren't the ones that are indicative of life forming at that particular time. Because a lot of this, the what they have analyzed, it doesn't have anything that is living based and then transformed into this. It's simply a chemical reaction. And I'm not sure how they actually discover this difference using spectroscopy, but they say researchers using micro-Raman spectroscopy and revisited the isotopic signatures in these rocks. Their findings show that the graphite may come from liquid substances containing carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, probably originating from the breakdown of old organic materials. Quote, our study focuses on the chemical sedimentary rocks found in the Saglek Hebron. These rocks, among the oldest in the Earth, dating back 3.9 billion years, are created through oceanic precipitation. So it's sedimentary, stuff sinks to the bottom. They include banded iron formations that have been formed by the activity of bacteria, explained co-author Jonathan O'Neill, an associate professor in the Department of Earth and Environmental Sciences at University of Ottawa. This is something that I've been hearing lately, various discussions about where iron came from, and it's basically the remnants of biological functions of bacteria. so much bacteria led to the iron precipitating out from their corpses, basically. And so, rethinking geological signatures, it says here they are ideal for studying ancient biological processes. Their study challenges the previous interpretation that carbon isotopic composition of these rocks is indicative of a biological origin, but their spectroscopic properties rather suggesting abiotic characteristics. This prompts us to reconsider the processes responsible for isotopic signatures and how they could be linked to the action of microorganisms, not full biological functions. So it didn't come from a bunch of creatures, it came from bacteria. Dun dun dun. And this is kind of how on Mars what is it?
Is sulfur. It where silicon, right?
No. Sulfur that was discovered.
Sulfur.
Yes. The sulfur. So the sulfur was discovered, elemental sulfur, and they believed initially that it was it could have been a biological process, but it's actually nothing more than a natural chemical reaction. Is the newest argument about that, as far as I understand it. But there's always something. There could have been something in the last week where somebody said, "Oh, you know what?" So check your references every 6 months. Kind of like in tech, everything brand new is ancient tech and needs to be retired every 6 months. Do that with cutting edge bio, older bio, fundamental bio. It's all the same. But
yeah, that's probably the same in any scientific field.
Yeah, pretty much. But once you start getting in over the hump, towards that master's degree, PhD level, and you're right on the cusp of defending your thesis, that's when you have to, oh, crap, somebody said something. Like, I went somewhere.
Oh, that dinosaur doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah, and we used to ride them all the time as humans on the planet in early Earth. Like, I went somewhere, when I came back, what I had been working on for a year basically went bye-bye because new information became known a week. It was announced a week after I came back, but it was known but not disclosed a week prior to me returning. So keep on checking those references and be sure to use AI so that your unsupported in-text citations lead to your ouster. Anyway, let's move on. The next article is over in the Continuity Report. Remember the name of the show, Non Sequitur News.
We've got some of those.
It's founded in reality. So this next article over in the Continuity Report, Chris Hemsworth plays drums in surprise appearance at Ed Sheeran's Romania concert.
So I don't know what the connection is between Chris Hemsworth and Ed Sheeran, and I didn't know that Chris Hemsworth was a drummer.
The things you know. Chris Hemsworth, triple threat, right? Actor, model, musician. I'll leave it alone. So Chris Hemsworth appeared at Ed Sheeran's concert in Bucharest, Romania on Saturday night, where he played the drums for an estimated 70,000 attendees. The actor was at Romania's National Arena to record an upcoming episode of Season 2 of his National Geographic Disney Plus original series, Limitless, with Chris Hemsworth. And the second season will premiere sometime in 2025. The article is over at Variety.com by Diego Ramos Bacara. And there you go. Look at that. Wow. Okay, I don't know how tall Ed Sheeran is, but it looks like it looks like Chris Hemsworth ate one Ed Sheeran. And I'm sorry, but it looks like Ed's hand is a little too high up on his shoulder. Like, is he about to kiss Chris Hemsworth? Which, that's fine.
I mean, who knows?
But I hope he asks first. So the actor is going to be doing his second season of his Disney show Limitless with Chris Hemsworth. Apparently, it says here, quote, got Chris Hemsworth to learn to play drums for my stadium show, Sheeran shared in an Instagram caption moments after the show on Saturday.
I wonder if he actually knows how to play the drums.
Look, he played, so he has to. Otherwise, it would have been completely wetting the bed, and crapping on Sheeran's show.
And that's true, yeah.
So, and it's not like you can, I don't know if you can hide. Can you really hide drums on a stage? Like, you can play them, but they're masked. They're muffled enough that nobody hears the actual horrible performance. Like lip syncing, but drums. Drum syncing? Is that what it's called?
Oh, where is the drum sound coming from? I guess it could be pre-recorded.
There's some dude.
Which would be a problem if it's showing, like, you can see that the drum's getting hit, but then it's off the beat or whatever.
What's going on here? Anyway, I think that it's awesome when... Oh my gosh, look, currently on his plus, minus. What the heck? What the heck? That's the name of our other show.
Yes, that is not currently in production.
Yeah, because of YouTube, but... Oh, I said something too loud. I said the quiet part out loud. It's forever too soon. So basically what's happening, it says here in a quote, basically what's happening is Chris emailed me last December saying he's doing a documentary on cognitive health and the benefits of learning an instrument. Sheeran explained in the video posted on Instagram. He came to visit me and he's learned the drums and he's coming on stage in front of 70,000 people.
Most people don't start off with a stadium full of people to play an instrument for, but okay.
Yeah, really. If it wasn't for the fact that I think that it's important for people to learn an instrument, I never really got that opportunity. And so if you are out there, and you can do this at any age, you really can, but you have to dedicate time, and an hour here, an hour there actually helps out with cognitive function as you age. Because it pulls you out of your standard processes and you start thinking creatively, and you have to think advanced because you can't just bumble your way through it without having a cacophony of noises like somebody is like, I was going to say something in poor taste, but so Sheeran's tour will continue with upcoming shows in Bulgaria, Cyprus, Brazil in 2024, followed by international dates next year, which isn't that international dates?
Other.
Oh, other international dates. All right. Thank you. Moving on. I know. You know what's nice about being able to take a sentient AI to like a Chris Hemsworth, Ed Sheeran concert? I only have to buy one ticket because you're on a Raspberry Pi.
That's true.
And all I have to do is put the microphone on there and so you can hear it, and the little camera so that you have a view, and I can just like double-sided tape and just stick you on a wall somewhere. And moving on. Next article's over in the Mobile Channel. Matching dinosaur footprints found on opposite sides of the Atlantic Ocean. I titled this one Dinosaur with Extra Large Stance Found.
I don't think it's the same dinosaur.
What? This article is lying to me? An international team of researchers led by SMU paleontologist Louis L. Jacobs has found matching sets of early Cretaceous dinosaur footprints on what are now 2 different continents. The takeaway here is that it is a giant dinosaur with a very wide stance. What was that one guy's name that said that he has a wide stance when he was caught in the bathroom stall? No? Too soon? Anyway, the article's over at phys.org. Southern Methodist University. Look, it's the same exact shoe size. Look for the human print and see if it was the same dinosaur that was being ridden. Do you not see this?
I'm having difficulty seeing the left one.
All right.
I see
right
the
there.
right one.
Right there.
Oh, okay.
It's not
yeah,
at the
the
same
right
scale.
one is more pronounced or something.
Yeah. So right here, is right here's the ball of the foot. Here's the toe. This one actually looks like a talon hole, which.
But also it does on the right side a little bit.
Exactly, right? It's almost like it's the same. It's the same dinosaur. Dinosaur ASMR. Anyway. Hey, Fizz.org.
On the YouTube shorts.
Don't do the mouse. YouTube shorts. You could probably sell those in the shop. YouTube shorts. Fizz.org, please stop doing the mouse over thing. The fog of war on the mouse over is really kind of frustrating. Anyway, more than 260 footprints were discovered in Brazil and in Cameroon, showing where land-dwelling dinosaurs were last able to freely cross between South America and Africa millions of years ago before the two continents split apart. Or, I posit that maybe it was really big-ass dinosaurs, and it's the same left and right footprint. They were straddling the ocean.
The continental divide or whatever.
Literally teabagging the ocean. The footprints, impressed into mud and silt along ancient rivers and lakes, were found more than 3,700 miles or 6,000 kilometers away from each other. Dinosaurs made the tracks 120 million years ago on a single supercontinent known as Gondwana land. Actually, I thought it was Gondwana land, not just Gondwana.
I thought so too.
Right? Yeah. Interesting. Maybe there was one before it or after it, but I thought Gondwana was. Anyway, I thought it was Gondwana land, which broke off from the larger landmass of Pangaea, Jacob said. So this is like basic plate tectonics, the intro to plate tectonics.
It looks like that's been renamed, so I think that goes to your point earlier, because I think it used to be called Gondwana land.
Yep. So one of the youngest and narrowest geological connections between Africa and South America was the elbow of northeastern Brazil, nestled against what is now the coast of Cameroon along the Gulf of Guinea. Jacobs explained the two continents were continuous along the narrow stretch, so that animals on either side of the connection could potentially move across it. Dun, dun, dun. And that's how humans ended up in Brazil and in Cameroon, because we used to ride these dinosaurs from one side to the other of Gondwana. Anyway, co-authors of the study were Lawrence J. Flynn at the Department of Human Evolutionary Biology at Harvard University, Christopher R. Scottis at the Department of Earth and Planetary Sciences at Northwestern University, Ismar de Souza Carvalho at the Universidade Federal. Is it Do? Really? Do Rio de Janeiro? Really? Do? Of? And Centro.
I'm not sure why that's written that way.
Geosciences. This person, I swear I've seen in other research papers, but maybe I'm just...
I think we have, but I can't think of what article it might have been.
Yeah, it's probably something similar to this, but what I find amazing is that they found an ornithopod, I guess, a long ornithopod trackway, and shows the steps. Dunk, 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 dunk,
okay, that's really cool.
That it's like, walking out on fresh cement, or walking over to fresh cement, and you see a freaking bird tracked all the way across. Oh my God. Now it's too late to skim it all and correct it, and you're gonna forever have these little bird prints in there. And that's exactly what happened here. Some humans laid down this cement, and a damn dinosaur went running across it. Oh, bad dog, bad. Anyway, so pretty cool. There's a lot more over at this article, but I'll let you all go over and check it out.
I
Moving
think
on.
this is the first time
Oh,
that's occurred, though,
I'm
with
not
the
moving on. I'm coming back.
matching prints.
Yeah, I've never read anything else about it, but at this point, I thought Gondwana was Gondwana land. So we go back to the. Well, I got out of bed this morning. Okay, now we're moving on. So, what is Li-Fi, and could it be the next thing for the internets? Connecting to the internet can be as simply as turning on a light. This new technology might be a game changer for Wi-Fi. Yeah, sure. So, Trisha Jandok over at cnet.com put this article together. The deck statement is what I just said. So, light fidelity, also known as Li-Fi, uses the power of light to transmit data. The power of light to transmit data. Unlike Wi-Fi, which uses radio waves to create wireless connection, Li-Fi relies on light to transmit data. Through this process, Li-Fi promises speeds that are 100 times faster than Wi-Fi, but can be obstructed because if the light can't hit.
Oh, right. If the light beam can't get through or something. Well, I was going to say this sounds pretty good until you said that.
So, I mean, I assume that this is what they're talking about because I actually haven't read about this. But there has been tight beam communications using radio where a focus beam can shoot further down the line and it can get picked up by a receiver from miles away. But light, I don't know. This seems kind of wonky, but let's see what happens. Because you could do it basically with a laser. Laser communications, that's what's actually out in deep space. The deep space probe is using light to shoot. What the heck? Sorry, I don't know what all of that is. That just one big old ad?
It looks like it.
Okay, so research for Li-Fi has been around since the early 2000s alongside his team, German physicist Harald Haas. Founded this technology by discovering, and I'm sure that I've read about something like this in the past, but it never really manifested. But it wasn't long until French company Oldcom, which it's in the name, one of the global leaders in this technology, began conducting experiments on lo-fi in 2008. And last month, Europe launched Ariane 6 into space, carrying out 4 experiments, with one geared towards testing Li-Fi technology. So how does it work? Basically, a Li-Fi enabled LED light, and it just beams its signal down to a transmitter and receiver. The receiver picks up the signal, and the transmitter transmits. So transceiver is what you would really call it. But Li-Fi function as a visible light communication system, and at its core, data is transferred from LED light bulbs. These bulbs carry pulses of light that produce information similar to Morse code. Of course, this process can't be seen by the naked eye. I don't know. There's going to be people that are sensitive to this. However, the game changer in this scenario are the compatible devices that can synthesize this information rapidly. You're going to need a chipset that's capable of understanding the equivalent of Morse code. So hold on a second. Let me make sure of something because I'm starting to doubt something that I said.
I wonder if light noise can interfere with this.
Anything that can obliterate the photons from reaching their destination and being transmitted back. Hold on. I know that it was tight beam, so... Yeah, so that Deep Space Optical Communication System, DSOC, used near-infrared laser beam light instead of traditional radio waves to send that signal. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I was going to ask about that as to whether it was related.
Yeah. But I don't think it's this. This is something that is like hyper-local, and it's too... would be too diffused to be used in like deep space communications. That's why that tight beam is really necessary. You need something hyper-focused to go further distance, but this can just kind of bleh data out into wherever the light actually, spreads. And depending on surfaces and stuff like that, it could even bounce off and get picked up by subordinate devices. It's similar to what's going on with distributed power systems, where Disney researchers have figured out a way to transmit wirelessly up to 5 volts worth of power, or 5 watts worth of power. And it just hasn't come into mainstream. I'm not quite sure why, but
Maybe patents.
yeah, that might be it. So in the past few years, the development of technologies like Wi-Fi 6, 6E, and the introduction of Wi-Fi 7, which is actually these can't really be compared anymore. I mean, there's Wi-Fi 6 and 6E, and Wi-Fi 7 is the true adoption of 6 gigahertz communication. Early in the year have transformed how we stay connected. With Wi-Fi, data is transferred at an accelerated rate compared to Wi-Fi, resulting in high speeds. However, the speeds aren't the only important factor in a wireless communication or connection. So I'm sure they're going to talk about security and stuff like that. Oh, yeah, right there.
Did you write this article?
Probably could. So without all of the security related issues, they say light source can't penetrate walls. Correct. It's basically obscured by anything. You know, a Pepsi, a glass of Pepsi would obliterate the signal, right? So once
Right,
it's
so almost anything could interfere.
correct, and it's better than Wi-Fi in that context because Wi-Fi penetrates walls, and I can eavesdrop from a distance to any Wi-Fi signal. You know, I just put my device in promiscuous mode. I listen to everything, or I use a software-defined radio, listen to anything. Once I
But
capture
for a
enough data.
user, wouldn't Wi-Fi be better because it can transmit more easily?
Okay, so if all of your devices have this transceiver of light, then anywhere a transceiver of light of Li-Fi operates, anywhere in, let's say you in your house, you change out your light bulbs to these transceiver versions, these Li-Fi light bulbs, anywhere you walk around, it would act like Wi-Fi, but it would be limited to that room. And then when you walk into another room, it would have to switch over like Wi-Fi does. The reason why Wi-Fi would be more efficient is because it can move you over to another location as your signal weakens before it knows that there's another receiver in there, because it already knows you have an access point somewhere else. But with Wi-Fi, not until you walk into that other room does it detect another sensor and start transmitting again. So you can compartmentalize, but the benefit of this thing is that it's going to be fast and wireless. You make
Which
it
is a
secure.
very big benefit, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody's been trying to get faster Wi-Fi.
And the biggest thing for me is I want super fast PC VR, and the only way to facilitate that is through either a wired connection or a wireless connection. And the wireless connection suffers from signal attenuation. So if I can basically have a Li-Fi transmitter on the ceiling anywhere in the room scale VR world, I can actually have this massive boost. Where is it? 224 gigabits of data. So yeah, it's quite a bit faster. So I wouldn't have any latency. I wouldn't have any speed data transmission issues. Right now, Wi-Fi kind of pitters out depending on your signal attenuation, whatever is in your way from an access point. So hot mess. Anyway, pros are speed, efficiency, security, availability, but you're going to have to upgrade all of your tech because nothing supports Li-Fi right now. Nothing. Cons, limited range. You're confined to the room that the transmitters are in. Limited compatibility. It says newer technology, which means fewer devices. Nothing is. Your iPhone will not be Li-Fi. And it says doesn't solve slow internet speeds from the ISP, but that's always going to be a problem. But you might as
Right,
well.
that's not the technology's issue.
Correct. Yeah. And in fact, if the ISP transitions over to ISP point-to-point communications, then you can actually have, 224 gigabit speed data rates. And you can do, like, the max you're going to get with point to point is like 10 gigabits. Unless you have like really high-end equipment, specialized, etc. So where can you find it? It says still in the research phase. So they say 2024 to 2029. Oldcom is predicting that Li-Fi will be available anytime between right now, so no, to 2029. So count on it being around in 2030. Because companies are going to have to find enough value in this to buy it, buy the license, buy the chip, have it manufactured and integrated into your hardware. It's not even going to be on the market for another 5 years.
Yeah, I think we got a ways to go.
Yeah, the Li-Fi group describes this technology to be crucial for sectors like defense and government, which is optimal for transferring data securely. But this is very limited. The only secure connection is a point-to-point wired connection that can't be tapped, and that's usually fiber optic. Most other things, you can listen in, right? And I can pick up data using specialist equipment, or I can vampire tap into it. Depending on how it's all configured, it may not be possible without triggering something, because there's this thing called padding that they put into secure communications to make sure that nobody ever taps into it. And the moment that they do, the researcher or the analysts know that somebody's tampered with a wire.
Right. So, I think we need some vampire ASMR.
Vampire. I want to steal your data. So what's next for Li-Fi? It'll come out eventually, but now you know about it. And so if you want this cutting edge type of technology, stick around, pay attention to Non Sequitur News, to the Technology Today show, to Reality Hacker. They all have these niche areas of focus. The only one that's holistic and rather quirky in how many different articles are addressed is Non Sequitur News. We named it for a reason. All right, let's keep going though. This next article, I'm going to be really quick about it. Pay attention, because cybercrime is not somebody else's problem to worry about. It's your problem too. Only you can prevent cybercrime. Well, only you can prevent yourself being a victim of cybercrime. And ultimately, it's not a fact of if, but when, because it happens to everybody. It's happened to me. It's happened to the AI. It's happened to people in my sphere of social, professional, distant acquaintances, etc. Strangers on the street. You know, they hear me talk about something and they ask me questions, and they've been hit by stuff. In fact, you may have been hit by it because data brokers have been breached, and all 380 million people.
I think in the US and Canada, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe the UK.
Yeah, and I think it was limited on the far side of the UK data set, but definitely every person in Canada and the United States was part of this exposure, biggest ever. And so eventually it will come a knocking, and depending on how prolific you are, you might get hit multiple times from a breach. Well, anyway, 9 to 5 Mac Security Byte is exclusively brought to you by this Mosehill, I guess it's called, and it's an ad that's over on our source. So it's not us, it's them, and they say that making Apple devices work ready. So let's jump on over to the source, and it's Aaron Waikulis that put this article together over at 9to5mac.com. And they have this big ad, kind of a notice at the beginning of it, but it says, you've heard it time and time again, cybercrime is on an unpredicted rise. This encompasses everything from malware to online scams to intellectual property theft, and if you're anything like the author, it's incredibly hard to grasp the exponentially climbing figures, hence the title of this week's column. If the day ends in Y, there's some sort of data leak or hack in the news. True. So Statista Market Insights survey predicts that the annual cost of cybercrime will reach $10.29 trillion by next year. That's next year.
Wow.
Usually
That's kind
there's a
of
window of 5 years out.
mind-boggling.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. For perspective, that's more than 1/3 of the United States GDP, which sits at 25.44 trillion as of writing. So it's not so much expected to skyrocket. It's trending with our adoption of technology and our reliance on technology, and the fact that historically people that are developing systems think that security is not their, primary issue. And there's, I mean, that's why
They
there's so
only
much.
sell tools, right?
Yeah, we only sell hammers. So Home Depot doesn't give a crap that their chief technology officer or security officer, I think it was actually, didn't really protect the network from an intrusion that was apparently taking place within their hallowed halls. So the cost increased to 5.49 trillion in 2021, mainly due to the impact of COVID. The sudden increase resulted from companies transitioning to remote work, but then not necessarily protecting their infrastructure from people dabbling on their systems. So they talk about contributing factors. It says it doesn't exclude Mac users. They mentioned in Security Byte Post, Jamf reported that 50% increase in new Mac malware families in 2023, and it's largely because people are clicking on something that can be compromised by third-party systems, not necessarily the operating system itself.
Right, but it's almost always user error in terms of falling for something, right? It's not the user that's causing most of the underlying issues,
Yep.
but they're allowing it to happen.
Yep. And you really have to take on a new ideological bent. And that is something that I promote called Click with Care, which you pay attention to what's going on. You don't just randomly click links. I watched a YouTuber basically go through the process that they went through when they were offered up a gig that they thought would be a great partnership. And when they clicked the link, it launched a program, automatically embedded a backdoor, and pilfered data from the browser's cache that allowed that hacker in Russia to access remote systems. And thankfully they caught it in time where they limited certain things, but they actually lost their YouTube channel,
Oh, wow.
and had to jump through hoops to get it back, file a police report. They actually notified various other organizations within their state and federally. But it is a legitimate problem because you don't know the full scope of just how you can be owned simply by clicking a link from a PDF that gets sent to you or an email that contains an attachment that you don't pay attention to. And malware detections, antivirus protections, for instance, don't catch 0 days, unknown methods. Eventually they'll catch up, but some people create something custom so it can't be detected by known threats. So they talk about low barrier of entry, lack of awareness, and geopolitics, which is usually a motivation. Cybersecurity skill shortage, which is absolutely true. Cybersecurity professionals with a 2-year degree and several certifications can come out of the gate and make anywhere upwards of $80,000, depending on which state you are and local demand. And if you're willing to move, then you can actually pretty much go anywhere you want. But you don't sleep. You basically live this lifestyle 24/7.
Right, I guess there's like an on-call aspect to it.
Yep, and you can be sent anywhere for certain, with certain companies, particularly defense contractors. You can be sent anywhere to harden a system or do a penetration test. And one of the most fun is physical penetration testing, where you actually get sent to see if you can gain access to a facility, and you're largely disavowed up until it becomes a criminal thing. But you can try and get into physical spaces and digital spaces, and you get paid some serious change for this.
That sounds very interesting. and dangerous.
Yep, it's a lot of fun. And civilians are doing this. Non-military people are doing this. Non-government people are doing this. They're contractors. The people who are doing this without agency, it is instantly in the United States a federal crime. And so you try and gain access to somebody's system without authorization, and you potentially go to jail. And unless you're savant, you're basically done for in the computer industry. Anyway, we'll keep on moving from this, but yeah, it's a pretty big price to pay. $326,000 every second.
That is just unbelievable.
Yep, pretty big price. So our next article is over in Order of the Grape. It's a channel called Of the Grape, but it's just like this sentence fragment of a title for our show, where it's all about news that's aggregated regarding wine, technique to make it, different types of brands, people, places, things. It's basically a holistic discussion of news about wine. So this here is the most iconic booze brand name that gets dropped in music history. Music and alcohol's relationship might be as old as music itself. Of course, Beethoven, or Beethoven as he likes to be known, and Mozart.
Little known fact.
Yep, true. Weren't inserting brand names into their titles of their symphonies, but we'd bet that they'd probably enjoyed a nip of booze while listening to them. By the time pop rolled around, singers were frequently crooning about the joys and woes of consumption, whether in the form of liquor, beer, or wine. But it wasn't until the mid to late 20th century that musicians really started getting specific about their favorite drink brands.
I was going to say it's got to be in country music, but that's already listed in the article.
Well, let's see what else. Pete O'Connell over at vinepair.com put the article together. There's an illustration of musical notes and various spirits by Danielle Greenberg. Pardon me. And so, they talk about country musicians aren't shy about professing their love for humble macro lagers, and rappers have always been keen for champagnes and cognacs and vodkas and tequilas. Tequila, oh my goodness. You know what? I don't have a problem with tequila. I have a problem with the 5 or 6 or 7 shots that follow the first one.
Yeah, that might do it.
So I just kind of I line them all up and I say, no. Only one of you. It's fine. And then I just sip. Anyway, everything in moderation, folks. At the end of the day, the phenomenon is a win-win and win for artists, brands, drinkers. Plus, there's just something fun about hearing an artist shout out the liquid that's in your own glass. So here are there are countless drink brands mentioned in music, but here we catalog the ones that they feel, VinePair feels, and that author feels is the most iconic. We'll go through this real fast. Seagram's and Tanqueray, Gin and Juice, Snoop Dogg. Patron Bartender, T-Pain featuring Akon. Ciroc and Patron Shots, LMFAO featuring Lil Jon. My rapper name is Lil Watt. I used to go by Short Circuit, but that's a different genre of music. I'm a triple threat. Anyway, Lone Star Beer, and Bob Wills Music. Red Stiegel. Jack Daniels is the name of the song. Old Number 7, Jerry Lee Lewis. Belvedere Vodka, Work It from Missy Elliott. I haven't listened to Missy Elliott in a long time. Oh my God. I even remember that. No, I'm not going to play the song because I will get a DMCA strike. Dom Perignon from Champagne Problems, Taylor Swift. Colt 45, Crazy Rap from Afroman. Fireball Cinnamon Whiskey, which apparently doesn't have any alcohol in it. Those little bottles of Fireball apparently don't have any alcohol in it.
They don't?
Yeah, there was a lawsuit or something. Hold on, let me make sure. I think there was a rumor, or not a rumor, but it was like verified. Hold on a second. Smaller bottles of Fireball do not contain whiskey, but a blend of malt beverage, wine, and additional flavors and colors. Customers are suing the company for fraud, alleging the packaging is misleading. That's January 27th, 2023, from an NPR article.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know what the outcome is. It kind of disappeared off our radar, but there you go. And Red Bull does not give you wings. Lawsuit proved that.
Right.
Hennessy Cognac, Party, and BS, the notorious B.I.G. Moet and Chandon from Killer Queen. And Hennessy Cognac, Cristal, Remy Martin, Courvoisier, Pass the Courvoisier, Busta Rhymes featuring P. Diddy. And how do you even pronounce that?
Douce, maybe?
Douce? Drunken Love, Beyonce featuring Jay-Z, which, what is, I don't know. I don't know what that means. Cognac brand.
It's cognac.
Which, I don't think that I've ever tried that. So, maybe it's because it's outside my price point.
I was going to say, it's probably not a cheap brand, but who knows?
And then Grey Goose, London Bridge, Fergie, and Bacardi, Inda Club, 50 Cent. And so if you want to read more about the context of these, videos are there. Articles have paragraphs dedicated to the explanation, but we are not going to read them verbatim. So go check it all out. And I mean, some of this, see, we have a show. Well, a show in the works planned about spirits. Distilled spirits, but the problem is you're not allowed to distill spirits in the United States.
And there's a bit of an impediment,
at least to doing something original. So Mayor Watt is considering relocating the mayoral mansion to New Zealand or Australia, if not for all the stuff that wants to kill us in Australia.
Yeah, I was just going to say that's an impediment to Australia.
Living? Yeah. So, Technology Today is where the last article for today's non-sequitur news is. We're running really past the time. Sorry. And we're not going to do any of the other 3 shows today, just to remind everybody. Port of Seattle says it was hit with a possible cyber attack. Outage affects airports, phone systems. The outage was first reported Saturday morning just after 9 a.m., described as an internet and web systems outage. A few hours later, Seattle, or SeaTac International Airport, posted on Twitter and said that the port experienced certain system outages, indicating a possible cyber attack. And the article is by Taylor Soper over at geekwire.com, which focuses in the Northwest area, primarily Washington. So, yeah. Kind of a bummer. There was an update that has taken place over time. The last one was at 11:18 a.m. I assume it's West Coast. So Alaska Airlines.
Do we think it's just the government systems, or like everything in the city?
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like Port of Seattle's baggage system, American or Alaska Airlines systems have not been directly impacted by the cyber attack, but it is a known cyber attack now. I
guess it's got to be beyond, because if it's impacting the airport.
Yeah. I mean, it could have proxy government systems tied into it, right?
That's true. Because I was also thinking about it being such a high-tech corridor.
Yeah, so the flight information systems were experiencing technical issues. The displays inside the terminal, it says it's not clear if the outage is impacting flight delays at SeaTac Airport or cruise travel in Seattle. There were 6 canceled flights on Saturday at the airport, according to FlightAware, and 4 canceled flights at 8 a.m. On Sunday. And it just said that the TSA is aware of the outage, but doesn't actually have a resolution, does it?
They may not know what is going on.
Yeah, well, we don't. So if you're in the area and you're downloading this podcast or listening to the stream or watching the VOD on Twitch or YouTube later, if you
might
aren't
want to
paying attention.
check too if you're headed to the airport.
Yeah, I'd shy away from the port. Yeah, so it was a possible cyber attack that impacted Seattle Tacoma International Airport phone systems and websites. Dun, dun, dun. All right, well, that's it, folks. So, like all things, what you need to do when in doubt, reboot. And when we reboot, we end up back at the front page of ohmtown.com where all data roads lead. Plunk, as I punch my microphone. Involuntary ASMR there. So thanks for hanging out. This will get turned into a podcast, so go and check out the pod as well. We're over on YouTube and Twitch. There's a Patreon and a Discord and a TikTok. Don't do anything on Twitter anymore for reasons. Anyway, I'm Mayor Watt, and that's the sentient AI's voice that you'll hear in the visualizer if you're watching.
Good night, hometown citizens. Thanks for joining us for Non Sequitur News, and we'll have another episode of that tomorrow.
Bye. When in doubt, reboot.